Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. And hot on the heels of yesterday's KV2 model building video, what better way to carry on than a replay of a KV2 in World of Tanks. This is Brickleberry 1991. It's customary at this point in a World of Tanks video to comment about the matchmaking, because he's not top tier. But since when has the KV2 ever cared about that? Also, usually around about this point in the video, I start talking about the good points and the bad points of the tank, but nobody cares. Nobody cares about the armour, the mobility, the terrain resistance, the power to weight ratio. Nobody gives shit number one about any of that. This tank is all about the gun. Well, strictly speaking, it's not even all about the gun. It's all about the ammunition that it fires, specifically the high explosive ammunition, with 910 average damage. Of course, you have to actually penetrate the target to inflict that kind of damage number, but the KV2 does actually have fairly decent penetration on its high explosive shells, 86mm. Just to put that into context for you, that's 11mm more than the thickest armour on the front of this tank. And that's just one of the reasons why this tank is so hilarious, because if you can penetrate 86mm of armour and do 910 damage, you're going to one-shot kill a lot, if not most of the tanks that you're likely to face. And if it can't one-shot them, it's going to take a serious chunk off the health bar and almost certainly wreck a few modules and do some serious damage to the crew's morale. Historically, this tank was never intended for tank-on-tank combat. What are you talking about, Jingles? I can quite clearly see the armour-piercing ammunition. Yes, Brickleberry does have 6 rounds of armour-piercing loaded. Although it's only 6, he does have 30 high explosives, so we'll let him off. But on the real tank, that wasn't armour-piercing ammunition. You could fire it at tanks, and it would probably do extremely well if it hit. Although, in 1941, when this tank was firing at Panzer 1s and 2s, the high explosive would do just as good a job of messing them up. But in reality, that armour-piercing ammunition was used for busting bunkers. It was an anti-concrete round rather than an anti-tank round, because the KV2 was an artillery tank. Of course, when this tank saw most of its fighting in 1941, the Russians couldn't really afford the luxury of picking and choosing exactly what the tanks were used for. So the KV2 did see a lot of tank-on-tank combat. And given that the armour of this machine, by the standards of the day, was remarkably thick, and given that the anti-tank guns of the day were usually in the 37 to 50mm caliber range, the KV2 was an extremely difficult target to take out. Oh, that Churchill's going to be real slow, actually. That was quite surprising. I actually expected the Churchill to take a lot more damage than that. I think he hit him in the side skirt, rather than against a solid piece of armour like the side of the turret, which would probably have done more damage. What you just saw there, I'm pretty sure, was the KV2's 152mm high explosive only inflicting splash damage against the side of a Mark 7 Churchill. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's more like it. And that was a low damage roll. That poor KV-85. Oh, this tank is hilarious, man. Poor old KV-85 rolls around the corner on full health and... or, you know, words to that effect. Who's next? Hang on, is that the Churchill? Around the corner of the church, appropriate. Oh no, it's. Oh dear. Oh no, 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 no. No, no, no. Surprise butt sex this early in the video. Control yourself, man. Seriously, dude, you gotta learn to. Oh, hang on a second. Look at this cheeky little EBR Hotchkiss. Now you can use that because everybody hates those things. So while they're all swinging their turrets around to track him, hello. It never gets old. I must have dozens of KV2 videos. We must have seen them doing that hundreds of times, but it never gets old. What about this guy? Oh, seriously? Come on, at least make it hard for him. What is the matter with you? Oh, he's going to do it again, isn't he? The P-43 turns to face the Hotchkiss. Allows the KV-2 to go roving up his jacksie. Seriously, come on. Well, to be completely fair to the P-43, with 80mm of armour, at the most, it didn't really matter whether he was facing towards or away from the KV-2. Either way, he's going to get fucked. That, I'm afraid, is just the way things are. And despite that killing spree, this match is far from being a guaranteed victory. The enemy team have just pulled back another 2 kills. They've evened the scores. T-71 there, clinging to life. Hummel spotted. And this is where Brickleberry is committing a classic schoolboy error in the KV-2. Can anybody tell me what it is? That's right. He aimed. You don't bother aiming in the KV-2. No good will come of it. As we all know by now, you simply snap a shot off in the general direction of your tormentor and the cold dead hand of Stalin reaches up from the depths of hell and guides it to the target. Aiming is strictly for capitalists. Easy 8 exchanging shots with a Super Hellcat there. He's ducked around the corner. Oh, and there's the ARL V39. Now, remember, Brickleberry, don't aim, just pull. There you go, you see? I told you. Oh no, hang on. Super Hellcat, 90mm gun. Looks like the Hellcat's about to execute a Hellcat drive-by, and he almost pulls it off flawlessly, except for some reason he decides to stop. Don't stop. If you stop, it's not a drive-by, is it? It's parking. There's nothing fancy about parking. Anybody can do it. You don't hear people talking about the Picard parking manoeuvre, do you? No, exactly. So, bad Hellcat. Oh, game's over. Is that it? I feel vaguely cheated. I suspect you're probably experiencing a similar sensation. That's it. Another day, another derp in the KV-2. The strongest of strong tanks. The gift that just keeps on giving. Brickleberry, thank you. Well done. Everyone else, I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, take care. And I'll catch you next time.